Welcome to Product Momentum, a community of thought leaders and learners coming together to celebrate the product people who are shaping our way ahead. Inspired by our most pressing questions and insightful guests, we'll explore the challenges you face and offer practical, hands-on guidance your team can implement today. This is Product Momentum. Here are your hosts, Sean Flaherty and Paul Gable.
Hey, folks, and welcome to a special edition of Product Momentum and Illuminating Insights, a partner podcast by a friend of ITX's called Agility Insights. Trisha Hall and I share a conversation here about how user insights can inform leadership to deliver better results for clients. We talk about a lot and cover a range of our experiences with shared clients, getting out into the networking space, into conferences, and really just being thoughtful about providing value at the right level. We dive into a really, I think, important subject for every product manager in the ability to say no to some really good ideas, and how challenging but rewarding that can be. So I hope you enjoy this conversation with myself and Trisha Hall of Illuminating Insights. Well, let's get after it. Well, hello and welcome to a very special episode of both Product Momentum and Illuminating Insights, a first ever joint venture podcast. And I'm delighted to welcome Trisha Hall to our show. Trisha, do you mind introducing yourself for a minute for our guests and let us know what you're all about?
No, thank you so much, Paul. As Paul said, my name is Trisha Hall. I lead our enterprise solutions and government contracting team here at Agility Insights. I've been working here, I'm going to date myself, since 2014. I'm part of our Omaha, Nebraska-based leadership team. I've been working with our customers and partners since I started here. I really work to build high-performing teams and lead effective leadership teams as well. I love to coach individuals. I also am a certified Emergenetics Associate, so um, profiling organizations and help to really find the genius inside of individuals and teams and help them figure out how to work better together and build trust is one of the highlights of my time when I work with organizations. Um, I also really am trying to figure out how we can help build better governments and help them work strategically better together. And on the side, I do some work volunteering with boards here in my hometown in Omaha, hoping to make our communities a better place to live. So that's what I do in my spare time. I also happen to be a mom of now two adult children. That's really scary. I don't have teenagers anymore. And I've got an amazing husband that's been a partner of mine for over 30 years. So that's what I do in my spare time. Paul, how about you tell my audience members here at Illuminating Insights a little bit about you?
I'd be happy to, and you're making the world a better place, Trisha. I am Paul Gable. I'm the VP of Delivery here at ITX. We are a full-service outsourced product development firm. We specialize in user experience design and custom enterprise software development. Trisha, you and I met at the SAFE Summit recently here in Washington, D.C., but I'm based in Rochester, New York. And I've been here at ITX going on 9 years. I came up through the product track, a product owner, product manager, director of product, and made the move over to delivery because I wanted to be more in touch with the business impact that our products deliver. I'm still very much a product guy at heart. I love fixing things and solving problems, but I also really appreciate the human element, the business element. I am on my way to becoming a certified coach as well. Not quite there yet, but
Yay for you.
happy to know you have that feather in your cap. I might be picking your brain after the podcast on that. Um, Father of five, couple teenagers, couple younger, and active in the Rochester community here as well. I'm a board member of an organization called Tech Rochester. Also volunteer with veterans organizations around town as much as I can. So that's me and what I'm trying to do in the world.
So it's always so fun to meet and work with people like you and Paul, you and I, we have a common customer, and that's how our organizations actually really started working together. So we've got a common customer that we've both worked with for Well, they were working with Agility Insights before I joined the organization, and I know that you guys have been working with them for a long time as well. So that's how we all ended up here at the table together. And then with our joint partner at
Yep.
SAFE, our world, as big as it is very, very small.
I couldn't have said it better. I think there is the more you get out, the more you realize people are dealing with the same problems the world over. It's just different flavors and variations and labels that we put on them, but people are just trying to help others out, help their families, help their careers grow, be better, learn more. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Absolutely, absolutely. And, I think one of the things that really drew you and I into conversation is some of the problems that we're trying to solve with our customers, and you had some great stories about this, is really helping to align leaders and help them to really figure out how do we really help them verbalize and draw closer to their teams and really understand how do we help our teams excel and how do we help our teams get better. And I'd love to really hear a little bit about your perspective there at ITX on what you're doing around that particularly around the product side, because you guys have got some great work that you're doing there.
Yeah, I think there's really one word that captures all of it. There's variations on the theme, but it all comes down to value. I think the the idea of value is kind of one of those words that gets washed out over time. What does innovation mean anymore? Ask 10 people what innovation means, and you'll get 11 answers. But I think what we try to do at ITX and with our clients in the problem space is define value not just in the simple terms of increasing revenue and lowering expenses, but looking at real deep customer insights. And what I think, you asked about leadership, and I think that connecting leadership to value is really the nexus where um, we find the most leverage. Not leverage in the financial sense, but leverage in the sense of if we're connected to the why, what is the problem that our clients are trying to solve for their customers, and our teams are empowered to dig into those ideals, the things that make their users tick. Those are the things that are, we can. I don't like the phrase "fail fast," but we can learn fast. We can get iterations, and we can be on the same side of the table, solving the same problems, learning together, empowering our clients. And I think that kind of leadership requires a lot of humility. So that's the dimension that I think is often lost in the product space. A lot of talk goes into, you know, the vanity metrics and the product market fit, all of which are very critical to success. But humility, I think, is the secret ingredient where if you're able to run experiments and you're able to learn alongside your customers, I think that's where that leadership function comes in. If a leader is overly critical or expecting business outputs as opposed to customer outcomes, you're going to get short-sighted, and you're going to get you might have short seasons of financial success, but ultimately you'll distance yourself from your users. And I think that whole relationship between leadership and experimentation, humility, and learning fast is really where the secret sauce lies.
I love that.
I'd like, yeah, I'd love to ask you on your perspective in that same vein. Agility Insights has been on a journey. You've been
Yeah.
discovering your own customers' needs in really unique ways. And I know 2025 is a big year for the company. Can you share a bit of your journey? And maybe I'll pose the question back to you in that light. What does leadership mean for the product of Agility Insights and the company culture there?
It really has been a journey. We just recently went through a rebrand. We announced at the end of 2024 um, our move from Agility Health to Agility Insights as a brand, really because we've evolved our platform and our managed services really around how do we help organizations and leaders really gain insights into the value that they're delivering because we can't just continue to create these spinning tornadoes of work inside of our information technology organizations. It's really how are we delivering value to the organization overall, and how are we taking the work that the business is asking for, and how are we taking that strategy that the organization is really defining? Because we spend a lot of time and a lot of money bringing together, leadership teams and teams overall into these big, PI planning events or even strategy planning events and saying, hey, what is it that we're going to deliver? What is it that we are going to do as an organization? What's the strategy that we want to achieve? And we do these huge events and we say, here's our North Star, here's what we're going to do. But then how do we actually help the teams tie the work that they're doing to that strategy that we want to achieve? A lot of times there's this really big disconnect because we have these
Yeah,
huge
no, it does
meetings
have.
and we talk about these fantastic things, and then everybody goes back to work. And how are we tying the work to the strategy or the outcomes that we want to achieve? So we spent a lot of time really in 24 and into 25, really thinking about and working through how do we help organizations do that. So we did a lot of investment into our platform and then thinking about how we can help organizations really visualize taking this strategy and tying the strategy and the outcomes to the outputs and the deliverables that organizations are really striving to do. And then really looking at how do we put the value around that. So that's really what we've done a lot of our work around, and so it's then bringing the insights into that. So how can we take and create those massive walls and then a digital twin and then report on the value that organizations are delivering? And so we've been doing a lot of work around that, building AI elements into our Agility Insights platform so that on a Monday morning, a leader can come in and get a report saying, hey, here's where you're doing okay. Here's where you need to lean in as a leader because these are the obstacles that your teams are facing because they can't really deliver until you help remove this obstacle. And it's for your business teams as well as your technology teams because we have to have both sides of the coin moving forward at the same time or something's going to get missed. So it's really about having that conversation with leaders about how do we help you deliver value and how do we help you understand what value should be delivered first so that you can actually achieve the strategy of your organization. So
Yeah.
it's really having those conversations about what is most valuable, uh, not whose project is most important. And those are actually two different things. And so it's helping organizations learn how to have those conversations. Because I think we've all been there when there's been a leader who does the drive-by and goes to their favorite person and says, hey, can you do this side project for me? I know it's going to take some time and I know you've got these other priorities, but this is important to me.
Yeah.
And it's helping us all to break those patterns and figure out how do we help all of us think about what's valuable and what's going to provide value to the organization and get that prioritization done in the right way.
Yeah. Really well said.
So, and then those habits are, you know, harder to break sometimes than we want them to be, but it all takes practice.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, as a user of Agility Insights for many years now, on that common client of ours, I've seen the outcomes that you're describing in living color, literally because the dashboards are quite colorful, but also because it's a really compelling picture that shows, that highest paid person's opinion, that hippo walks into the room and says, this is my pet project. I want this done now. You can really make really well data informed decisions about the trade-offs that come. You can see the amount of buy-in the team has, the confidence that they feel around leadership. And I think that democratization of the feedback loop where, Agility Insights does a great job of leveling up everybody's voice. The quieter voices tend to fall to the bottom, but sometimes they have the most important things to say in the room. And I think that it does a really good job of helping us have those tough conversations, removing the emotion from them, showing them, business outcomes. And I would say, um, I one sidebar would be, I think we've begun over-indexing on outcomes at the expense of outputs. A lot of
Mm.
people, when they talk about outcomes and outputs, they trivialize outputs as if they're not as important or noble. But I think business outputs have just as much of a say in the success of a product or an organization as the user outcomes. And a lot of times they can be the first alarm that starts sounding when things are going wrong. Sometimes the outcomes aren't apparent until long after the train is off the track. So I think there's a lot to be said for those kinds of conversations that you alluded to about value and driving towards consensus and alignment to deliver that on time and on budget.
Well, and what we got all excited about outcomes and OKRs because it was a great way to really verbalize and organize and come up with a common language. And don't get me wrong, I love that we all have a common language. But the outcomes and the OKRs, those are the strategy. The outputs are the
Yeah,
execution. We have to have both of them so that we can really achieve what it is we want to achieve. And if we've got one without the other, if we're just executing and executing and executing, what are we executing towards?
exactly.
If we just have outcomes and we just have strategy, how are we getting anything done? So we have to have both, and we have to have both
Yeah,
in balance and in concert so that we can get value.
yeah. I think that is a really great synergy of how do you connect the why, but also the how and the what, and the team needs to see the full stack of where the value prop is, but also the processes that we're following to execute.
Mhm. And that's why these visual walls, whether they be physical or digital, are so valuable because then anybody can see what is it that we are really working towards and what's most important. And, you can really have those conversations when something comes up because it will. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter what industry you're in. Something's going to change. Either there's going to be a new regulation that comes into play, there's going to be a business need that changes, there's going to be some sort of change in hierarchy, whether it's going to be like in the case of our government, we've got a new government that's changing with our presidential change, or there's going to be a new president that comes into a company because the CEO retires.
Hmm.
Things are going to change. So then how do we change and how do we reprioritize in a way that makes sense and disrupts things as little as possible? Because
Yeah.
disruption will happen.
Agreed.
So, yep, yep. So, um, what's the next best thing that ITX is working on? Because I know you guys are working on a lot.
It is a lot. It is a lot. And I think the thing that we're excited to introduce, we've been carefully observing the AI trends, and I think as everyone else has, I think the offering that we're excited to bring to market in 25 is a truly AI enabled team. And we don't just mean, slapping the AI label on it. What we want to bring is a really thoughtful, we work with clients who are in highly regulated industries. So just throwing everything into even a walled garden of an LLM isn't always available. So we've been really thoughtfully crafting a rollout that allows a team to see the productivity gains that everybody is enjoying. I think the do more with less that AI offers is kind of a universal. But what we've been trying to bring is a really carefully curated voice in this space. We think uh, that a lot of the AI enablement is going to be focused around keeping a human in the loop. That is hands down my favorite phrase in any AI conversation. We don't want to let anything go out the door that doesn't have a an experience driven, a UX designer keeping eyeballs on something and not just letting generative AI draft all of our wireframes, or uh, taking the copy paste of ChatGPT and slapping it into content. I think those kinds of things were a flash in the pan a couple years ago when ChatGPT turned the world upside down. But as we're rolling it out, we really want to share the value gains, share the value efficiencies, but also treat the treat the AI conversation as a wisdom force multiplier, as opposed to just an intelligent agent. And I think that as we're definitely not the first to market, and that's by design. We didn't want to damage the relationships and the trust that our clients have built up in us. And if we had, jumped on the bleeding edge of that bandwagon, I think it could have imposed some risk that we just weren't comfortable passing along. So as we're rolling out that offering, I think it's going to be human first. It's going to be team empowering, and it's going to become, it's going to allow us to become even more obsessed with the user than we already are. We want to help minimize the distraction of process, cut through the signal to noise, and deliver results faster. So I think the AI enabled teams that we've been test piloting for the past couple of months have really shown some promising results. And I think as as much as this might sound dated in 2025, just releasing an offering like this, I think it speaks to the due diligence, the experimentation, the thoughtfulness. We didn't want to be first on the bandwagon and deliver a subpar result. So I think we've taken a lot of lessons learned, and what we're bringing to bear on our teams has really been showing some really promising gains that we're able to share that value, pass along to our clients. So that's been really, really fun to be a part of that journey, and see how it's been played out, going from an idea on a whiteboard into in the hands of our developers and designers and product managers, passing it along to our clients.
That sounds so exciting. I'm still at the stage where when you say AI enabled team, I still see some of the Hollywood versions of AI enabled um, bots going in and helping with people and stuff. So I need to get past that in my own head. But I've been at some conferences recently where they have some of the AI enabled uh, boxes, if you will, that have, like they show people and they've got an image, if you will, of a person that is the front of the AI. So it's come so far
Yeah.
in the last 18 months. So that's
Yes.
very exciting for you guys.
Yeah, we're very proud of the due diligence that we've taken to craft it in a way that's minimizing risk, that's allowing us to play even in highly regulated spaces. And I think it's been a journey, but I think we're excited to share it with the world.
That's
So I'd love to
outstanding. That's outstanding.
I'd love to ask you a bit about the insights that you've been gaining, Agility
Yeah,
Insights, besides the new year, new you. As a firm, you've also been breaking into new markets and expanding on the
yeah.
platform. And I'd imagine that's closely tied to customer feedback that you've been sharing and learning from. Could you, you know, maybe paint a picture for us of some of the conversations that led to the design and brand and
Sure.
technology platform changes that you guys have been making over the past few months?
Sure. Sure. Well, customers are always asking things like, how do we compare? What more can you tell us? How do we know what's next for our teams? And because we've been working with teams in this way for over a decade. I mean, we did our first team health assessments, um, and our common client was actually one of our beta customers back in 2013. So we've been using this platform commercially since 2014. So for over a decade. So our database of paid customer data. So this isn't people that have gone out and played on kiosks or anything like that. So this is really true, truly good customer data. There's over 12 million data points just on our team health uh, radar alone. That was our flagship assessment that we started with years and years ago. And so with that, and because we have both quantitative and qualitative data, and we've got a lot of understanding of based on based on that, how can you do predictive analytics and those types of things? We actually can use those data points to say, now that we've got a lot more ability, we can actually say, based on your data, using some of the AI that we now have built into the platform, we can help predict which teams are going to excel and improve and which teams need help. We can help you understand where to lean in and help teams, which obstacles need to be removed for teams first so that they can continue to excel and accelerate from a performance perspective. Because at the end of the day, we all are looking for teams that can produce higher quality work faster.
Yeah.
Because if we can help remove those obstacles, we don't have to bring in more teams. We can actually remove the right obstacles and help our teams produce more work at a higher rate with better quality without adding people, without adding teams, because our teams are actually able to produce at that optimum rate. We don't want them to overproduce because then it's going to be work that's not at the quality that they want. And it's also not going to be work that's valuable. So we want to find that sweet spot where they're producing at a rate at which we can consume it, because it doesn't matter if it can't be released because there's other, testing and all of that that has to happen. And we also want it to be high quality work that doesn't have a lot of bugs. So we're able to start to use all of those data points to be able to predict where do we need to lean in and remove obstacles, which teams need the most help, which teams can be your dojo teams, your teaching teams,
Hmm.
so that you can really optimize the level of work in your teams. We also have enough data to help you write outcomes, deliverables, and projects. So we have an Ask Agility AI feature where you can say, and I'm going to use something that I worked on with a customer. Uh, they needed to build a shipyard instead of 5 years in two. They needed to build it in two. So we went into the Ask Agility AI and gave it that actual problem, and it came out with the outcome and then the deliverables and the projects that needed, and it gave ideas on all of that. And so then you can go and you can continue to tweak and say, okay, I want it to be shorter. I want it to be smarter. I need different KPIs. I need different key results. But you can use now that type of AI within our platform to be able to really refine how do we actually write not only our outcomes and OKRs, but then the deliverables and the projects that go with it so that we can then actually get better at this. Because one of the problems that we need to really help solve is consistently writing outcomes, projects, and deliverables so that we can start to really work on them and how do we refine them. But then the next one is then what are the obstacles that are coming and keeping us from getting those things done?
Yeah.
So that's the type of AI that we've been able to write into our Agility Insights platform. Because
You said
customers
something. Yeah.
customers are
Go
continually
ahead.
asking us, how do we know what's tied together? How do we know where to go next? We have all this data. What do we do with it?
You said something that I want to key in on that I think is the linchpin to the whole idea that you're referencing, and that's you have a backlog of outcomes that you're aligning towards, and uh, whether it's AI or another decision-making framework, you need to know which of these things is aligned towards the vision, and which things do you need to say no to, keeping uh, that balance of usable, feasible, valuable, viable, um, really only happens when you know which things you need to say no to, and that's the product manager's most powerful tool in their toolbox. The ability to say no, because everybody has a great idea. Designers make great designs. Engineers have wonderful solutions. All of these things are not inherently bad ideas, but when you don't prioritize them, when you don't know which good ideas to say no to, that's when you start to see the feature bloat, the drift from customer success. You start to see things being released with poor quality because it gets rushed, because everything's jammed in. That's a really powerful story you told about being able to remove the emotion from the conversation, give a picture of the vision that you're aligning to, and help to filter out which of these good ideas are not aligned to the greater good. Which of these things, though good ideas in and of themselves, are not going to get done in this release because we need to focus on the things that are going to be aligning. Um, he kind of buried the lead there, and I wanted to call it out because I think that is that is the most powerful tool in a product manager's toolbox, the word no.
And it's not perfect yet. It still needs people. I
Yeah.
don't want anyone to think that what's built into our platform is going to take the place of people, because we still need to make the final decisions. Um, but it gives us the data to help us understand, and gives us sometimes the words in some cases to be able to say, wait a minute, help us figure out, and say, okay, here are the two scenarios. Which is going to give us the most
Yeah.
valuable outcome?
Yeah. And sometimes when we bring our own biases to the table, it's hard to see past our own personal preferences or the things that we're
Absolutely.
invested in, where sunk cost fallacy or other cognitive biases start to creep in that we by definition can't see our own biases that we bring to the table. Well, Trisha, time flies when you're having fun. We just have time for another question or comment or two. And I thought to wrap up, I would
Hmm.
borrow one of the questions that you shared when we were getting ready for the show.
Sure.
I'm curious to know what you'd say if I asked, what does success look like when companies are working well and teams are happy?
What does success look like when companies are working well and teams are happy? I would say, from my perspective, when I walk into a customer, the and and they're successful, there's an energy that you cannot replace,
Hmm.
and people are happy. Um, and people are willing to go the extra mile, and they do so with joy. They may not always verbalize it, but they do so with joy because they know that that's the right thing to do.
Hmm.
And it's an intangible feeling in some of our customers. I don't know if you've experienced that.
No, I to borrow a famous quote from a Supreme Court justice, it's kind of you know it when you see it. It is hard to
Yes.
define, but I think those teams, you could lean on some of the tired tropes, like they work late and they get pizza party after, and those are fine and all well and good. But I think you'll see it in I love that you use the word joy. I'm having trouble not using the same word because I do think that is an aspect that I've heard. We've spoken to a product leader named Michael Saka, who is very much in the space of finding joy in product.
Hmm.
Others have spoken about it, and I think it's a really powerful concept. I think I'll go a slightly different direction. I'm not going to try to top what you shared because I agree with everything you said. I think one aspect that I would flavor it with slightly is that there is an environment of continuous learning.
Mm.
Teams that are successful and happy I would say, to an organization, I've seen where teams are successful and happy. There's an atmosphere of learning where learning stops. I think joy stops. You stop getting curious. You stop remembering that there's human on the other end of your product that you're building. And then it's not even about the product. It's about the problem that the product solves. And I think when teams don't make time for learning, development, and growth, that's one of those early warning alarm bells that should start going off. If an organization doesn't make room for that, then there's probably not much room for joy anywhere else either. So I think that would be my take on it. Yeah. So, Trisha, I've really enjoyed our conversation today, and I hope we get a chance to do this again. It's been a blast getting a peek into the company culture at Agility Insights and hearing about the success that you guys have enjoyed. I'm really excited to share this with both of our audiences and see where this might take us.
Same, Paul, same. It has been a pleasure. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to see you again. Yeah, I can't believe it's been a couple of months since I saw you, but maybe we make this an annual thing. Who knows?
Or more frequent. It's been a great conversation, and I'm sure people are going to get value from hearing these perspectives. So I'm happy to make the time, and I'm looking forward to doing this again soon.
Sounds great. So good to see you again, Paul. Thank you for having us on your podcast, and I can't wait for our Illuminating Insights podcast audience to hear your insights as well.
Likewise. Cheers.
Take care. Bye.
Well, that's it for today. In line with our goals of transparency and listening, we really want to hear from you. Sean and I are committed to reading every piece of feedback that we get, so please leave a comment or a rating wherever you're listening to this podcast. Not only does it help us continue to improve, but it also helps the show climb up the rankings so that we can help other listeners move, touch, and inspire the world just like you're doing. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next episode.